Jimmy, that was awesome.
I appreciate it, mate. That was so good. I'm really glad we were able to do this.
People don't recognize, you talk about the international players coming over. I'm finding more as I talk to people or coaches similar to you that have had to come over. It's not easy to just, you don't just show up in the US and then rock and roll. And then just the paperwork, the cost, the time that you had to go into it. So when you said, I respect those international players when they come over, not only leaving family behind, but if you're going to do it, you're going 100% all in to make it happen.
Yeah, and I think for me, if I'd have come over later after 9/11, I don't know if I would have been able to have gotten a visa. I was before all the trouble. It was a little bit easier to get a work permit. They weren't quite as strict, but when everything happened with 9/11, it really changed everything. At that point, I had my visa for 3 to 6 years, and I was with my wife. I was lucky. Again, timing's everything, right? Timing's everything.
And I said it during it, like that you just rattled off every single coach that's been at BG, which is fine. Like if you can read it off a piece of paper, but then you were like, yeah, I still talk to them or I text with them, or that was something that really resonated with me. That was like, wow, like even the impact you've made on like Mary Whistler and some of these others. And I know you're in contact with her and all those types of things. Like that's just that was a huge takeaway for me, was just that relationship side of like, and plus like, look, I want to get results. I'm not going to lie. Having those trophies on that shelf is huge. Getting that first NCAA victory would be humongous, but at the same time, being able to stay in contact with, I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah, it really is. And I wish, COVID's changed a lot as well. That was really difficult to establish those relationships. We're still recovering from that because we have seniors now that had 2 years of not being able to have those relationships, looking through a screen at each other. You could see each other, but physically there was nothing there. I'm still having to work on relationships. It's not perfect by any means. And I wish COVID had not happened, because I'd like to see where we were at with the relationship piece with our current group. But I think every coach there was probably not a worse time for me to have gone through a coaching change, because we had maybe 6 weeks of training and then we got shut down my first year here. So I had no time to really work on those relationships. We were shut down for almost a year after that. So it was a difficult period, and we're still patching that up because we never had that ability to have those relationships. So we're getting way better though. It's kind of nice developing those.
I will say too, I watch a lot of games on ESPN Plus, and your field is sick, like so awesome. Like to watch it, it's just the way the grass is laid and just the whole surroundings and everything. I'm like, oh my goodness, amazing.
It's nice, and I think a lot of that is credit to our men's coach, Eric Nichols. He's been here for 15 years.
Oh, I got it.
It'd be someone you should try and talk to, because he's really good and he's had a ton of success here. But he's done so much with his alumni, with donations, and he's put the floodlights in. He's got all the stuff done. He's done so much to build that facility.
So I don't ever get into those conversations much of what it's like to work with that other staff. I get so focused on like your individual journey, but that's something maybe down the road, almost get like two coaches on and talk about what's the dynamic of, women and men's, and, is one successful, one's not. How's that hurt or help the vibe? Because that was something that I think Jason Chris was talking about, where his girls were very good and the boys were not. And I think in high school, the girls always played first. So they would crush and he was like, yes. And then he'd get to the boys. And so he'd get on the bus to go home. And it was the feeling of defeat, not the feeling of winning. It's such a weird dynamic on the bus. And
then you got the flip side of it is the if you've got two equal teams and your women and your men play first, and the speed of play, and the women play after, and the difference in that, that can be a challenge. I've had friends that have coached both men and women at D2 schools, and they've had to coach both teams, and they typically scheduled women first and men second, just because of that adjustment to the speed of play, and like how the adrenaline and how into it you were with the men's game because of the intensity level, and then the women play, and it's a little bit different, not in a bad way by any means, but it was always a little bit tougher to come down, whereas it's a lot easier to kind of raise that level when you're going into coaching the men's side.
I've enjoyed this is awesome, and I appreciate it.
If I can ever be of any help, or if you need anything from me, just reach out. But if I can ever be of any help, let me know.
Will do. Thank you, Jimmy. I really appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time to chat and share.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for having me on, and let's keep in touch though. Okay.
All right, will do. Thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate it.
Take care. Cheers.
All right. See ya.
Bye.